Well, it's back to business inside the Beltway today. Lawmakers returning from recess, and the president has big plans for reducing taxes. Here's what he said getting off Marine One.
We're going to be taking in a tremendous amount of money. We're going to be taking in a lot of jobs, a lot of plants and factories. They're already coming. I mean, you see it. And we're going to make a lot of money, and we're going to cut taxes for the people of this country. It'll take a little while before we do that. But we're going to be cutting taxes, and it's possible we'll do a complete tax cut because I think the tariffs will be enough to cut all of the income tax.
All right, yay for that. Joining me now, Congressman Estes, a Republican from Kansas. Congressman, I like hearing that. Is that true? Is that a possibility? Could we really see the elimination of the income tax?
Well, thanks, Todd. It's interesting when the president talked about that. He's been a big advocate for American businesses and American companies being able to make successful jobs for American workers. And, tariffs are part of that. We've seen so many countries, including some of our allies, that have not been fair in terms of the equitable treatment of the United States. And, as the president said, it's a ways off. Right now, we're focused on the one big beautiful bill to help focus on how do we keep from having a big tax increase next year. I know in my home state of Kansas, it'd be about a 16% tax increase for the Kansas residents, about $2,200 a year. And so we want to get that done by June so that we can actually be prepared to get ready to start for the next year. People can make those decisions about whether they're going to buy a new car because they'll have the money instead of having to pay it in taxes. Businesses can make investments and create new jobs in America. And so it's really important for us to do that. And included in that, also looking at how do we cut some of the spending that's going on in Washington. So we've got a multi-tiered tax program moving forward, and we're working to get that done.
I know Speaker Johnson met earlier today with the president, and he wants to finish the tax bill by Memorial Day. Some lawmakers are holding out unless they can see some significant reductions in spending. Where is the happy medium here, Congressman?
I think it's a mixture of both as we look through that. Obviously, we can't continue down this route that we're in right now. We're borrowing $1 out of $5 that's spent by the federal government, and that's just not sustainable. It's $2 trillion being borrowed every year off of $7 trillion being spent for all the different government programs. And so we've got to address that. We've got to cut spending. Using budget reconciliation, there's some rules in the Senate on what you can address. It's mostly focused on mandatory spending programs, so you have less of the total pot of money that's being spent to address to be worked on. But we've got to make sure that we have significant spending reductions, and we want to make sure that the taxes are out there and supporting families, supporting the middle income, and supporting good, strong economic growth so that we continue to have good tax revenue coming in.
Congressman, over the weekend, the New York Times issued a report on that tragic plane crash over the skies of Washington, D.C., that American Airlines plane coming from Wichita, your district, and then the collision with the Army helicopter. The New York Times says that the pilot of that helicopter actually ignored commands from the co-pilot as well as the air traffic controller. Your reaction to those developments?
Yeah. That's such a sad tragedy that affected so many people in my district in Wichita and around that surrounding community, as well as other people throughout the country. We have the safest skies of anywhere in the world. Obviously, when a tragedy like this happens, we want to make sure we get to the cause of that and try to figure out how do we do that. With Washington Reagan National Airport being so close to downtown, there's going to be a lot of traffic, and we need to make sure that there's good rules in place. It appears that the two planes the plane and the helicopter should not have been at the same place at the same time. It looks like some of the things that we've learned out of this was the communication systems, particularly between the air traffic controllers and the helicopters, were different than between the air traffic controllers and the airplanes. So we need to address some of those issues so we don't have another tragic incident like this again.
Yeah, Congressman, any concerns about diversity, equity, and inclusion and a role, any kind of a role that might have played in this, or is that too soon to say?
You know, I think the National Transportation Safety Board, said that it's going to take the better part of a year to actually get through all of that. Obviously, we know there's a shortage of staff as we look for workers in so many occupations, including air traffic controllers, as we look through that. We want to make sure that we have good, skilled people that are qualified, that are trained, that are ready to work, and we want to make sure that they know what the skill set is that they need and are able to perform through that process. I think it was just a series of tragedy events that happened through all of this, and we need to make sure that none of that happens again.
All right, Congressman, we're going to leave it there. Always appreciate you coming on Newsmax. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Todd.